Hey everyone, what's going on? This video is going to be basically a reference video for future videos in regards to the number 624. So if I talk about the number 624, you'll have a better understanding of why I think there's something important about the number 624 and possibly the date of June 24th. And Donald Trump meeting Kim Jong-un on June 12th, 6/12, is really significant, and I'm going to make a whole separate video on that. But the reason that I think that it's really important is because they're meeting in Singapore, which in Sumerian gematria equals 624. So I want to explain some stuff about the number 624. I've just been seeing it a whole lot. Even, we had the death of the Seattle Seahawks football coach. His name in gematria equals 624. Just today I covered a story about this explosion near Houston, and I realized the word explosion equals 624. Lots of other interesting things with the number 624. I keep seeing it. Even the Lois Lane lady, her real name is Margaret Kidder, that equals 624. So I just want to go back to an old post that I was talking about in regards to the date of June 24th, and also why 624 is a little bit important to things that are connected to my own life. And if you're new to the channel and you're still listening, please check out some links in the description. I'm going to talk about gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. And it stems back to Jewish mysticism, which is Kabbalah, the belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number, and basically we live in this coded matrix. And it stems back to other ancient knowledge such as Hermeticism. If you look that up, you'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. But if you've been following my channel, I've talked a whole lot about bridge symbolism, lots of stuff in regards to bridges, such as why the Super Bowl was played in Minneapolis this year, because it was super important to the bridge collapse. And then after the Super Bowl, we even got the bridge collapse in the Miami area. And then Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in, they met on the 117th day of the year, and the word bridge in gematria equals 117. And they even talked about how they were building a bridge. And then just after that, Donald Trump, he's going to meet Kim Jong-un now on 6/12. And the reason that that's also important is because Vladimir Putin just built a bridge, right? The Crimea Bridge just opened. Something I was talking about in December. It wasn't even supposed to open until late this year, December this year, but Vladimir Putin's birthday is 117 days after June 12th, the day that Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un are supposed to meet. Remember the word bridge equals 117? Also, Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un meeting on the 117th day of the year. So, something significant. There's a whole lot more that goes along with it, but let's stick to this main post with this number 624. I just wanted to bring up the bridge symbolism because it's still really going on, and the bridge symbolism has a lot to do with the number 81. And if you write out 81 in gematria, I'll just show you really quick. If you write out 81, 81 in Jewish gematria just so happens to equal 624. 81, 624. So that number with, connected to bridges is important to 624 even. And remember, the Minnesota bridge collapse in 2007, that happened on August 1st. 8/1, and it supposedly fell 81 feet, and the main trusses were 81 minutes long. It took them 81 minutes to transport all the people to the hospital. And I've also talked about this year how it's the 81st anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge being opened. the 81st anniversary, and in Gematria, if you write out Golden Gate Bridge, let's type it out really quick, Golden Gate Bridge, it equals 81 in the frontwards way reduced, and also 81 in the backwards way reduced. So it's an important number to bridges. The Super Bowl, I also mentioned how it was super important to kneeling during the national anthem, and it was all connected to Charles Manson's helter-skelter theory about the blacks rising up. And then we had the death of Charles Manson after I was talking about this, right? And Francis Scott Key is the guy who wrote the national anthem, but if you look up him, you notice that his birthday is also August 1st, 8/1. So, once again, it's super important. And Colin Kaepernick's really important to some other stuff. You remember he made the pro-Castro comments right after Castro died, and he did it in the game against, or just before or after, no, just before the game where they played Miami, right? Miami, and think about Cuba. And we just had that plane crash in Cuba that I'm going to make a video on where Colin Kaepernick is actually important to all of that. There's been lots of other stuff, 9/11 symbolism going on too. And think about Russia and then North Korea with their nuclear missiles, and Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Cold War. That's why we got the death of Mini-Me on Austin Powers. Just think about it. The Cold War's over, Austin, you know. All of these things sync up. There are people who are manipulating this world that we live in, and they're using it to rule over us. So, the reason that I noticed 624, though, 624, I made a video, I'll leave in the description, where I talked about how my grandma and my uncle have recently died. And I noticed that they died 6 months and 24 days apart. And my uncles also died 6 months and 24 days before my birthday. So I knew there was something significant about the number 624. And then, you know, lots of other stuff with my uncle. He was born on the 81st day of the year, so I know it was connected to bridges, and they were both connected to the Super Bowl. My grandma died on Eagle Street, and my uncle's son is the only Eagles fan that I know. A ton of other stuff. Like I said, it's in that video. But when I saw my uncle, he was born on the 81st day of the year, and his son, who was an Eagles fan, his birthday is 81 days after his dad died, and he was born in the year 81. So I knew there was something significant to that bridge symbolism going on. And then 81 equals 624. I've also talked a lot about Pope Francis. He's really important to all of this, and he turned 81 years old this year, 81 days after the Jesuit anniversary, and he's the first Jesuit Pope. Donald Trump went to a Jesuit college. Lots of stuff in regards to Donald Trump and the Pope and their connections. JFK even died after meeting the Pope and whatnot. But the word pontiff actually means bridge builder. And at one point in time, when Donald Trump was talking about building the wall, Pope Francis said that Christians don't build walls, they build bridges, right? And there's much, much more that's going on with Pope Francis and the number 81. The word Pope in Hebrew lettering equals 81 and 8 months and 1 day, a lot like 81 after Pope Francis's 81st birthday is 81818, you know, a lot of 81 and 18. We're in the year 18. So I just wanted to bring this up because 81 is super important. Pope Francis is important to this bridge symbolism that's going on. And in regards to North Korea, I've talked a whole lot about how North Korea is super synced up to the Jesuits. Even the Korean War that lasted 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. And the word Pope in Sumerian gematria equals 312. Pope Francis's real name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 312. This year's the 477th anniversary of the Jesuits. 477 equals 312. Francis Xavier died on December 3rd, which in most parts of the world they read it as 3/12, and Ignatius of Loyola became a saint on March 12th, 3/12. Lots of stuff connected to the Jesuits and also North Korea. Even Kim Jong-un's birthday is, let me think, I'm trying to remember what it is. Kim Jong-un's birthday was even 3 months, 21 days after the Jesuit anniversary, and, much, much more. He even became Kim Jong-un's father even died on Pope Francis's birthday. Lots of North Korea stuff synced up to the Pope. A bunch of stuff with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl was connected to when Pope Francis visited Philadelphia in 2015 on the Jesuit anniversary. That's why Donald Trump called out the kneeling on 9/23, because when Pope Francis arrived in America, it was on his 923rd day as being the Pope, and then the next day he went to the White House at 9:23 in the morning on 9/23, September 23rd, and much, much more with that. Even LeBron James was in the movie Trainwreck. LeBron James equals 9/23. The movie begins with Amy Schumer's characters 9 years old. The rest of the movie takes place 23 years later, but we had a train wreck in Philadelphia earlier that year at 9:23 p.m. But he finished his trip in Philadelphia. It was super important. Everything's been synced up to the year 2015 and Pope Francis's visit to the United States. Last year, I was even talking about how, in regards to the national anthem stuff, Francis Scott Key sounds a lot like Francis Got Key. And in the Bible, they talk about the Church of Philadelphia in regards to the key of David. Francis got key. And the very next day, we got a story of a guy named Keon Carpenter, an ex-Atlanta Falcon player, who had died. Keon Carpenter, Jesus is supposed to have the key of David, right? The key on the carpenter. I mean, absolutely crazy stuff, So, guess just wanted to bring all that back up, but and a big thing with last year was about the death of my Uncle Barney, who was synced up to the Cubs winning the World Series like crazy. And it was also showing me the Falcons to be in the Super Bowl because of this Miami Dolphins jersey he gave me. I'll leave a playlist for that as well. But, just tons of information that is going on. But my uncle had went and met Pope Benedict before he died in like 2010 or something like that. And then after that, his wife won $250,000 on a lottery ticket. And I just pointed out that Pope Benedict, he became the Pope on 4/19, which is the 81st prime number. Not going to go into the whole tangent with it. But moving on, 6/24 as a date, June 24th, is the 175th day of the year. And in Gematria, the word Pope equals 175. And if you write out Pope Francis, it also equals 175. That's why I'm pretty sure that we got the Houston Rockets playing Golden State in the Western Conference Finals right now, because Houston Rockets equal 175, Golden State equals 175. A bunch of stuff last year was synced up to the space theme and the moon theme, and we had John Glenn die 175 days before the NBA Finals began. Anyway, 6/24, I also noticed, just so happens to be Pope Francis's 1929th day of being the Pope. And that's very interesting in regards to the year 1929, which was the last time we had the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, just like this year. It was also the year of the stock market crash, right? 1929. And the St. Valentine's Day Massacre even happened when Calvin Coolidge was the president. Calvin Coolidge was the last acting president to visit Cuba, if you remember. 88 years before Obama went. Trump equals 88. Neil equals 88. The Star Spangled Banner equals 88. Colin Kaepernick equals 88. This is the 88th anniversary still of the stock market crash when Herbert Hoover was the president. H is the 8th letter. 88. That's why the day after the Super Bowl, the big headline was the stock market, whatever. I can't remember what something about the stock market doing terrible. That was the story the day after the Super Bowl. But I had also pointed out that on 1929, Vatican City became a sovereign state in 1929. On 2/11 of 1929, much that could go with that as well. But the Pope, who was Pope during that time, he also died at the age of 81. Also, the Pope, who was Pope when the Jesuits were founded, he died at the age of 81. I also had recently been talking a lot about the number 68 and how it's connected to 9/11. And my uncle died the same day as Barbara Bush dying. And her birthday just so happened to be 6/8. Lots of stuff with that as well. I remember her son, George Bush's birthday was 68 days before 9/11, and 911 was made the emergency dialing code in 1968. And that was the same year George Bush graduated from Yale Skull and Bones. It was, the World Trade Center construction began on 8/6, August 6th, or also 6/8 of the year 68 even. And it was 33 years before 9/11 happened. Lots of interesting things with it. But what I wanted to point out was that my uncle died 68 days before 6/24, and 6/24 has a date numerology of 68. 6/8 is also important to Donald Trump because it's the 159th day of the year. Donald Trump equals 159. Herbert Hoover equals 159. Francis Key equals 159. My uncle's name equals 159. His son, who is the only Eagles fan I know, equals 159. My grandma, who died, Grandma Murphy, equals 159 in gematria. My uncle even died 159 days after my birthday. And remember, my grandma died 1 month, 17 days before my birthday. A lot like 117. And then my son was born on January 17th this year. And the big thing I've talked about all year is the bridge symbolism. And bridge equals 117. Also, if you look at my playlist, I have a big playlist about Stand By Me and Marilyn Manson and a ton of other stuff in regards to 10 days before and how Donald Trump and the Pope are synced up to JFK and the Pope. And I just noticed that 6/24 was, 10 days after Donald Trump's birthday. So Donald Trump's birthday is 10 days before 6/24. And remember, on Donald Trump's 70th birthday, that was also Pope Francis's 1,189th day of being the Pope. And the King James Bible has 1,189 chapters. Donald J. Trump equals 1,189 in Jewish gematria. So Key of David equals 1,189. Donald Trump's birthday is also Flag Day. Think about that in regards to kneeling during the national anthem. So in regards to Donald Trump, I pointed out that 6/24 is Donald Trump's 521st day of being the president. And the reason that sticks out is because Philadelphia equals 521. Stock market also equals 521 in gematria. A bunch more with this too in regards to the number 98 and how it was synced up to the Super Bowl because it was the 98th season of the NFL. If you write out 98, it equals 521. And the 98th prime number is 521 as well. So, just interesting. Synced up to the stock market crash, Donald Trump's birthday, or Donald Trump, I might have said his birthday, but Donald Trump's 521st day of being the president, that's synced up to stock market, right? And then Pope Francis's 1,929th day being the Pope, right? 1929, the year of the stock market crash. It's a pretty important day, it seems. And something keeps showing me this 624 number. I keep seeing it all over the place. I just went on to mention in regards to Colin Kaepernick and kneeling during the national anthem. It's all about San Francisco, which I've been talking a lot about. If you've been following my channel, I've been talking about earthquake symbolism in regards to Philadelphia and San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, the 49ers, think about that in regards to gold. The word gold equals 81 in Jewish gematria. And, you know, think about Mini-Me in the movie Austin Powers and gold member, you know, which is a big tribute to Osiris and his golden penis, creating Horus, right? Horus equals 81 in gematria as well. So something significant. I also just typed in gold and searched how many times gold was written in the Bible, and I noticed that gold, it says in the King James Bible, was in there 419 times, which is interesting because the 481st prime is 419. And the word gold equals 81, and it's mentioned 419 times in the Bible. And, you know, gold is also, in regards to alchemy, which is part of Hermeticism, right? And Hermes, the golden boy, whatever. Gold is all about the sun, and sun equals 159, like, you know, Donald Trump and whatever else. So the word Ra, sun god, equals 81 as well. So just wanted to point out that the date of 624, it's definitely seemingly something really connected to the stock market. It's important to the bridge symbolism. Lots of stuff going on with it. I've just documented so many things. I don't even know where to begin with some of these videos, like I've said. But I've talked a lot about airplane stuff lately. It's been all these airplane stories, and we got the airplane crash in Cuba, and the lots of Seattle stuff, you know, where Boeing is. And I was talking about Air Force One, and Air Force One is, the original Air Force One was called Columbine 2. Think about that in regards to the school shootings. And if you check out my Stand By Me playlist, I'm telling you, I mentioned how it's connected to the Big Bang Theory because of Will Wheaton. And then on this last episode of The Big Bang Theory, they even bring in Jerry O'Connell, who portrays Sheldon's brother, right? Jerry O'Connell, the fat kid in Stand By Me. It's just so ridiculous. And in that playlist, I even have a bunch of stuff about Marilyn Manson and the 10 Days Before stuff. And Marilyn Manson said that Columbine ruined his career. And he was really synced up to the Stoneman Douglas high school shooting. Even his album was supposed to be released on Valentine's Day. And he, on the shooter's birthday, 9/24, the same day my grandma died, that was the day he came out again and said Columbine ruined his career. And then the same day as the Sutherland Springs shooting in Texas, Marilyn Manson came out doing a gun theme and had some flack for that. And man, there's just so much more to go into it, you know, but it's crazy. There's something to do with 624, but the date of 612 that they're meeting on, that's really important to Valentine's, you know, Valentine equals 612. So like I said, I'm going to make a separate video. This was a video I really just wanted to document, and that way I can refer back to the number 624 and why 624 is important. And I've just been seeing a lot of 624s as I've been going through and documenting some stuff. So have a good one. See you in the next video. Actually, just a few more things I forgot to mention about 624. So Singapore, where Trump is meeting Kim Jong-un, that equals 624, but also Jerusalem equals 624. And there's just been lots of coding with World War in regards to Russia and also Kim Jong-un. And think about Singapore, that used to be part of Malaysia, right? And think about the missing Malaysian airline. You know, it just makes me wonder if there's something going on with it. The missing Malaysian airline reminds us of the movie Castaway as well, with Tom Hanks. And he goes missing over Malaysia. And It's the plane called the FedEx 88. Trump equals 88 and so on, right? And, it's just in that same area. Singapore, it even used to be part of the Malaysian states, and it's right in that same area. And, remember the Indonesian earthquake and tsunami in 2004, just before the Patriots beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl? It's an important area. There's something really important about that area and that missing Malaysian airline that had 239 passengers, and it happened on the day that left 9 months and 23 days in the year. Think about that in regards to Donald Trump calling out the kneeling on 9/23 this year. It's a special day to Pope Francis. They're both Jesuits. Kim Jong-un even murdered his brother this year in Malaysia. Or not this year, it was in 2017. Remember, he even murdered his brother. And notice his brother was born on May 10th, which is the same day that May 10th is the same day that Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump announced they were going to have a meeting in Singapore, right? So how interesting. May 10th, the word Korea equals 510, a lot like May 10th. Moon Jae-in became the South Korean president on May 10th. So just interesting that his brother gets murdered there. Lots of stuff pointed to Donald Trump and assassination and, you know, just interesting. Pointed out. I'm going to talk about this in the next video, but, interesting that Jerusalem, think about that in regards to World War, Donald Trump finally, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, Israel created out of World War. Benjamin Netanyahu equals 69. He's going to be 69 years old this year. World War III equals 69. The World Series this year begins on the day that leaves 69 days in the year, and it's the 114th World Series. World War equals 114. Holocaust equals 114. Pearl Harbor equals 114. That's why we got the Hawaii stuff in the news. That's why we have a volcano erupting there. Because however it works, it's all created by this coding. It's all wanting us to know about World War. So I'll make a separate video on it, but I just wanted to point out Jerusalem equals 624. And all this World War coding, 69 equals 624 in reverse Sumerian, something that I don't use very often, or I don't think I've ever even mentioned it on any of my videos, but I've been seeing a lot of 624 in reverse Sumerian on my blog, so I don't think it's a coincidence that I keep seeing it in reverse Sumerian. So we'll end it here for real, and then I'm going to make a whole separate video on this Trump meeting Kim Jong-un. So have a good one. Peace.